Howdy ho, everyone. I hope everybody's having a good Monday. I hope you're all ready to go out and vote tomorrow if you haven't already. You know, it's a big deal. It's your right. Do it. Don't care who you vote for. Don't bitch if you don't vote. That's all I'm saying. So, but yeah, I've got to go do that tomorrow myself. So, and just a heads up, tomorrow night on Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal, we will not be having guests. We'll be taking questions from the audience. So just come on in and start asking your questions. We'll be candid. We'll tell you the truth. We'll tell you what we think. Could get us all kicked off Twitter. Could get us kicked off Facebook. Could get us kicked out of YouTube. Most likely not Twitter this time, but, you know, you never know. But it's going to be an interesting evening, to say the least, tomorrow night. And make sure you tune in after the show tomorrow night for election returns. See how this turns out. It's going to be important for all of us. So, not to be political, but you know we have to do what we have to do. But my guest is late tonight, and it'll be okay. It'll be great. But wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about a Paracon that's coming up. It's called the Born, which Bill of Rights Network, Born, No Travel Required, SuperCon. And we're going to be doing that on December 2nd and 3rd. What's the acronym for what? Ron. And we're going to be having some speakers. And so far we've got about 6 spots left. If anybody would like to be a speaker, we have some speakers sessions ready. If you want to be a vendor, please contact me and we'll get you on there. And this is a by veterans for veterans event. So we're going to be showing you guys a lot of links and QR codes for veteran charities that we're highlighting during this. So keep that in mind. And we'll probably have those links up tomorrow, since Veterans Day is this Friday. So keep that in mind. We're not going to be asking for donations or anything for ourselves, for our network. We're going to be asking for them for the charitable organizations. And these are all going to be charitable organizations that don't get the national attention. So keep that in mind when we share these charities with you, that these are very small charities. They're excited to get $10, where some of these other bigger charities, they're not excited for your $10. So just keep that in mind. It's really important that we, highlight these other areas that aren't getting the national funding. Here in Kansas City, we have a really interesting one. It's little houses for veterans up off of Truce in Kansas City, Missouri. I have been giving money through my paycheck for quite a while now. And I think that it is a great way just to give back. So, and I think that it's nice that these veterans that were homeless they have a house, they have a shower, they have a bathroom, they have all these things that they didn't have on the streets. And it's important to me. I have family members who have been homeless and were veterans at this, some still are homeless. They're not veterans, but yeah. So it's a big deal. So keep that in mind, especially during the holiday season. And I know that we all don't have the means to give, but you know what? We do all have means to share. We can share the event and get people out there and know what we're doing. So do that. Share it when we get it out there. I'm getting it all together now. We have some great speakers that are going to be speaking on different topics in the paranormal. Katie and Katie Stafford are going to be speaking, as well as, you guys all know Rex Nielsen from All Out Paranormal from our network. He's going to be speaking. David Glidden from 4-State Paranormal. He's going to be speaking. And of course, he loves to speak, so it works out great. We're going to have Christopher Pittman's team, the Rosemary Paranormal Research Society, is going to be coming on and talking about some stuff. We're going to have both nights. We're going to have a super panel. This is going to be whoever was there that day that was speaking, for you to ask your questions. Me probably throwing random questions at them to probably make you fall off your seat. So it's going to be fun. And, you don't have to travel. You get to do it right from your living room. And you know what? There's not very many virtual supercons, paracons, conferences out there that are free. So please like, share, subscribe. Anything that you think you need to do it. So, and we've got full schedules for all of our shows. You guys are going to love all the speakers we got coming onto our different shows this month. So that's going to be fun. I have Amy Green tonight. Hopefully she shows up soon, because otherwise you guys get to hear me yammer all night, and yammering's not good. So if all else fails, I drag Ron and Carl in, and we do that while we wait. But next week, my guest is Heidi Powell. She is a psychic medium here out of Kansas City. I met her at a paranormal conference in Overland Park, Kansas. And she was doing readings for people. She's a very nice lady. And her and I don't know if he's her husband, but I think he's at least her friend, had some really interesting stories to share with us at the Haunting History Paracon in Joplin. And I think you guys are really going to like her. We're going to have Nick Simons on. Carl didn't know this, so this is news to him. Nick Simons is coming on Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal, on November 15th. He's from 28 Days Haunted, and you guys are going to love him. He makes my sarcasm look like nothing. Okay. He's got it down. He likes to pick on Aaron a lot. At least on the show, it makes it look like he picks on Aaron, but he doesn't. They're best friends, and their personalities suit each other very well. So I think you guys will enjoy Nick Simons. So if you saw 28 Days Haunted, he was the guy that was with Aaron and Sean. And Aaron's been on the network, was on the network with Rex on Sunday. Was it Sunday that Rex did his show? Thursday. It was Thursday. So Discovered the Paranormal with All Out Paranormal. He was just on there on this last Thursday. Aaron was. And so the best part of that interview for me was reconnecting with Nick. So I loved visiting with him, and he got back to me today. So that's going to be fun. And then he's going to come on my show in December sometime. We try to keep at least 30 days between same guests so that we don't oversaturate you guys with the same stories over and over again. So do you guys... So, Carl, you want to come up and visit with me for a little bit?
Yeah, mine as well. Amy hasn't showed up yet, so.
Well, she did recently have surgery.
Oh.
So I don't want to, release anything that I'm not supposed to. So.
Right.
But I met Amy in Marshalltown, Iowa, at the paranormal conference up there that we went to in August a couple years ago, the same one where we met Travis Walton.
Right.
And one of the things that I noticed about her was I'm not tall. I'm a head taller than she is.
Oh, really?
And that's with her heels on. She had on heels that were this long, stepped on my foot, and I had on sandals. I felt it.
She's probably as tall as the lady in Poltergeist.
Maybe.
That little short lady.
Well, she was shorter than Dara. They were side by side.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Dara doesn't even come up to my shoulders.
Mm-hmm. And so we investigated together at the jail up there in Marshalltown with Michelle LeBaron and her. They're part of Reap Paranormal. Bill Reap and his wife are out of who'd have thunk, but Baltimore. Just down the road from where I grew up. Actually, Reap Paranormal has been investigating places near where I used to live in Essex. So, which is like, I'm not shocked. I mean, I lived there. I kind of knew. So it's interesting to see their perspective on it, looking back almost 40 years.
Right.
So it's interesting. And, but Amy she was working with NOLA Paranormal, which is Bloody Mary, who does the tours down there in the graveyard and her home and some other things. So she's friend. I mean, in my previous network, Bloody Mary got interviewed. I don't know how many times. I never got to talk to her because she was always booked.
Yeah.
It's
hard to get a hold of a lot of them because nowadays all the podcasts, everybody's getting everybody on them. So you never know what their schedule is. Plus, they're going to events here and there, and it's just hard.
It is, and that's why I think that the timing of this event for us is actually a very good time. Before Christmas, in the lull, in the evening, it's not, it might interfere with a couple Christmas parties, because they start having those right around Thanksgiving nowadays. But, you can come back and watch it. You don't have to.
Hey, if you're at a Christmas party,
bring it up.
Turn the TV on and go to YouTube and go to the Billerites Network YouTube channel or other places we'll be at. Let's see.
Right. It'll be on mine as well. It'll be on
it'll be on Paranormal Pride's YouTube channel too. It's also going to be on Things Network. I haven't heard back from our other network yet again. So, but at least we know we're on Things.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed on one of the other networks is they have a short show called Not So Normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we trending?
Mm-hmm. We are, because you can only talk about so much paranormal.
Right.
Right. So you start talking about other things going on. With our guests, we always talk about their books or events that they're going to be at. But we also ask them about what's going on in the world. And they'll tell us straight out. Let's see. Kris had a guest on his show the other night. And I loved the way the guy told it. And everything. Kris asked him about, what he sees going on in our country today, right? And he goes, I don't know. 2 years ago, I shut my TV off and I haven't had it turned back on. And he says, I'm so happy. And I'm sitting there and he goes, people ask me out there and I go, I don't know what's going on.
But he sees what's going on firsthand on the things
yes, that he does. He sees it every time. Like he says, I know what's going on, but I don't know what's going on. I see it at the grocery store. I see it at the fuel pumps. That tells a lot about our country right there.
Let me see here if I've got, nope. Hey, Brandon, if you want to come in, please come on in.
Come on in, Brandon.
Because you know what? I talk to Carl all the time.
We do. On this show and the other show, both. And stuff. But we'll be talking a lot tomorrow.
But we do have some. That was how, I had Nick ask me, I sent him a thing going, hey, I'm booking for 2 shows. And here's what's, this one and this one. And he goes, well, what's not so normal? And I'm like, okay. First off, I said gang. I said, we gang up on you. I said, there's 3 of us and just you. So, and we talk to you about that. And I said, and we don't always stay on topic. We go wherever the conversation takes us. Mm-hmm. I said, yes, on the Paranormal Pride, we take where the conversation takes us, but I stay away from topics.
Right.
Just because of the way I've always done my show. There's Amy.
Amy showed up.
So. Never mind, Brandon.
Yeah. Never mind, Brandon. I'll see you later, Denise.
So welcome Amy to the show.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, because we were getting tired. We didn't have anything else to talk about. Can you hear us? Let's see. Okay, well, we lost Amy, but
we'll see if
she'll come back. She'll come back.
See if she comes back here in a second.
But yeah, it was funny. We did all these things that we could do, and so I could explain it to him about how we go.
Okay, now we'll see if we can hear her.
Hey, Amy. Can you say something? Can we hear you? All right. We're not. Are you muted? Okay, got private chat. Okay, I'm asking her if she's muted. She has to be muted. Something's not right. So, okay, are you muted? Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you now.
Yippee! So, while we were waiting for you, I explained to everybody how we met up in Marshalltown, and I explained to them about your height deficiency.
I prefer to call it vertically challenged.
So, well, I'm not tall, and I said she's at least a head shorter than me, and I'm not tall. So I don't know why they don't call you the pixie of the paranormal. Because you are very pixie-like. You're so adorable.
Well, thank you very much.
So what have you been doing since Marshalltown?
Aside from having 2 major surgeries like 2 weeks apart, I actually just last night got back from Boston. We went to Salem Mass Paracon with Sam Baltrusis, and had a really, really cool time. It was so much fun. Got to see some people I haven't seen in quite some time, and got to meet some new people, and we got to go and do the Lizzie Borden house, and went out to the cemetery where she's buried. And then we went to Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which was really interesting. And that was, we got to see Nathaniel Hawthorne and Louisa May Alcott and Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. And they're all buried in what they call Author's Hill or something like that.
So maybe if you don't want to be authors, we're going to die.
Right. But it's probably the most peaceful cemetery that I'd ever been in. I mean, at one point I just sat down on one of the benches and you could hear the leaves falling, and weather was nice. And it was probably one of the most pleasant, peaceful cemeteries I've ever been in.
Yeah. And some of you here may remember when I interviewed Sam Baltrusis a few weeks ago, and he was talking about Massachusetts Paracon and the Lizzie Borden house, the other Lizzie Borden house as well.
Yeah.
She lived in when she passed. And so Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, where is that at?
That is actually okay. I was corrected, so I have to, I correct people all the time on where I live. So it's in Concord.
Okay.
Not Concord.
Concord, yeah. Well, it's just like Monroe, Louisiana. It's not Monroe. It's Monroe. Get it right. The company I work for is out of there.
Well, and not only that, but I live in New Orleans. It's not New Orleans or anything. I live in New Orleans.
Yes,
So
it's one word.
Yes.
Not 4.
Nawlins.
It's just like people go to Louisville. It's Louisville.
Yes.
My family lives in Kentucky. So
I love Kentucky. I usually go at least once a year. Usually either at Mid-South with Keith Age or at Scarefest. And I didn't get to go this year because of the surgeries. And I know it sounds crazy, but I always have to go to Cave Hill Cemetery and pay homage to Colonel Sanders when I'm in Louisville.
Well, I know where the road is. There's a sign.
I mean, it's, most people go for Waverly. I go to pay homage to Colonel Sanders. I don't know why. It's just it's a fascinating cemetery. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful cemetery.
Yeah. his wife's or the house that he built for his wife with the restaurant and all that's up for sale.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I have yet to go out there and see it yet, but I want to go. And they told me that Muhammad Ali, who's buried in the same cemetery, his monument and everything is quite extraordinary. So
I would assume so,
Mhm.
because he was a humanitarian. Even
Yes.
though there's a lot of controversy around everybody.
Yeah. Right.
But he had quite a bit of controversy about him. But
Mhm.
he was still a good guy, and his daughter apparently it was inspired by him.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I drove through Louisville every year for 30 years going to my
Mhm.
mom. So
Mhm.
I know it way too well. I know where, when they showed it on TV saying, hey, this is the park where you can find Bigfoot. Like, okay, I know where that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes, how do you know? I said, because I used to pull off into that park to nurse the kids because I was driving cross country with, little babies back in the day.
Right. Right.
And you can't drive and nurse at the same time.
No, that doesn't quite work.
And I never did that.
And also, next time you're there, you got to go to Guy Fieri's Smokehouse. It's downtown.
I've only pulled off downtown a couple times in all years. Once was to go look at the riverboat, the one that's haunted there in the, right there in Louisville. But most of the time, we spend a lot of our time in Frankfurt. We go to the Buffalo Trace Distillery and do their whatever tour they have available when we show up, and we try to get there on the weekends so that we can do the haunted tour that they have.
Right.
And I get to drink something fun. I get my spirits in a bottle.
Yep. Yep.
So, but I'm sorry you didn't get to go to Scarefest this year.
Me too. Yeah, Middletown, and a lot of people tell me because everything with my surgeries and everything started as soon. Like the Monday I got back from Middletown, so they tell me I can never go back to Ohio.
Well, you know what? That may not be such a bad thing. So,
well, I went and like I got back on Sunday night, Wednesday appendix.
Wow.
I remember that.
And then a little over 2 weeks later, I had to have major surgery to have an ulcer repaired. I had internal bleeding, the whole nine. They had to I'm sorry to be gross, but they had to gut me like a fish. And so it was. But yeah, they tell me I can't go back to Ohio.
Well, you know what? We have a problem with me going to Ashmore Estates.
Oh, okay.
So we've been twice, and the first time I went is when I ended up in the hospital eventually with a collapsed lung.
Oh God.
And it was because somehow, some way I ended up with lung nodules, and they had to biopsy them. And when they biopsied them, they got my lung. And for 3 days, I hawked up a lung until they put me in the hospital and reinflated me. And apparently
oh my gosh.
I was a blimp for a little bit. No. And then we had something else happen. We were supposed to go, and I couldn't go because I had a heart thing that happened. And I I said, I can't be more than 6 hours away from my doctor,
Right.
And I'm already an hour away anyway from where I live to the hospital where my doctor's at. And I'm like, nope, can't do it. So it is what it is. And, so I mean, health issues happen to all of us. And you met me after the collapsed lung, but before the heart crap.
Right.
So, but I'll tell you, we were hoping that Kelly was going to have her event again, because I thought it was one of the most relaxed, even though you saw me running around like a chicken with my head cut off, it was still probably the most relaxing conference. There was hardly any, I don't think I recall any drama except for maybe from a couple people, but they bring drama everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had, I was there. She had me slated. It was really interesting because she had me slated to speak for like 20 minutes. And I ended up, because I like to have participation with people. I don't like to talk to people. I like to talk with them, involve people. I ended up speaking for an hour and a half
Yeah.
because I got everybody involved, and I was like, because I don't know everything.
Oh,
Nobody does. And so when, I put an idea out there, and I want them to come back and tell me, okay, that might work for me, or maybe here's what I've done. And so that's what I loved about it, is that we sat around, and she actually sent me a paper. They quoted me in the paper, and I was like, that's one of the most fun parts of this, is that getting together with other people who do this. Let's share some ideas. You may know something I don't know. You may have some method that I don't know that may work for you. It might work for me. Let's talk about it. And that's what I really enjoy about doing these things.
Yeah, she asked me when we came, she goes, "Do you want to speak?" And I go, "No." and it wasn't that I didn't want to. It's just I didn't want to be that person that thinks that I have to speak because I'm there.
Right. Right.
And I told her, I said, just tell me what you need me to do. Just run me through everything. You tell me to go here, tell me to go there. And that's what I did. And that's how I ended up investigating with, we were supposed to investigate with Coyote Kris.
Yeah.
And, 10 years of hanging out with him, we've never really investigated with him. We always hung out with him all the time. We were always with him at McPike Mansion every year.
Right.
But we never really got to investigate together. That was going to be our first time.
Right.
And he had sent me a message the day that we left, and he said, "Don't tell anybody."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, not going to tell anybody. I didn't know what I wasn't telling anybody, but he thought he had told me what was going on. And he had sent Ron a birthday message, a video. So I had one of the last videos of him talking. And I kept it. I still have it on my phone. And
well, all the time that I knew him, I mean, I saw when he announced it. Well, in May, before he passed, we were actually, that was the first time that I got to investigate with him at Hinsdale.
Right.
Just in May, right before he passed. I didn't know he was that bad.
Yeah, he got in May. He did that. He was supposed to go to a conference in Iowa.
Yeah,
and he canceled that. And then in August, right after Marshalltown, he passed.
Yeah,
and it was just it's so hard now going to McPike Mansion now. Because we lost in 4 years. We lost 3 people there.
Yeah.
One of our main volunteers there, he died. He died the same year that I had my collapsed lung. I was in the hospital, couldn't go to his funeral. So, my whole life is wrapped up in some of these people,
Right.
So I miss him. So we were supposed to investigate with Kris, and one night, and the next night we were supposed to investigate with Josh and David. And David didn't come, but of course, so we investigated with you and Michelle,
right?
And we had a great time. We had a really interesting time in the one jail cell back in the back.
Right.
That was just weird. But the second night, after you guys left, were you guys there when the people decided that they want to do some ritual in one of the cells?
Well, the first night when I investigated with you guys, and I investigated, it was Mish and me, and we were in that. We did that EVP like round, where we went around the room.
Yeah.
And then we went to the back one in the back, that back cell and everything. And then I went back to that area. And all of a sudden, I've never had this reaction. I'm not sensitive. I'm not psychic. I don't even claim to be. But I went back to that one area. My stomach was on fire. And I told Mish, I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to step outside.
I remember.
And then I was like, I'm gonna have to step outside. And I mean, immediately I had to run outside 4 times. And so I called Kelly, and I'm like, I am so sorry to do this, but I got to go back. If I'm going to be any good to you tomorrow, I got to go back to the hotel.
Yeah. And I remember that you left early, and that was back in the cell where the guy had hung himself.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we had the guy who was his best friend there with
Yes.
us.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and here I am telling people what's going on with this guy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never been to this place before. How in the hell would I know?
No.
And not like this place had ever been open for paranormal investigations before.
Right.
We were the first. So me, you, Michelle, Ron, and all the people who paid to be there. This was the first time it had been open for paranormal investigations.
Right. And I had to blow it by getting sick. And I'm like, I felt so bad. But I was like, there was nothing I could do about it. I mean, all of a sudden I'm standing there and all of a sudden fire in my, and I'm like, I gotta get outside. I was completely useless.
Yeah.
And then the next night I went back. I teamed up with Josh the next night and went back.
You did the first investigation there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did the second because we had that other house that she had us go to.
Yeah.
And what was funny at that other house is we're in the house and it's like, I'm not getting anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if this is a haunting, it's a happy haunting,
Right.
And I had a whole bunch of ladies with us and they were just excited to be looking at all the stuff. And I look out the window and I see this really neat house down the street. And I say something to the lady that's running the place. She goes, well, I have the keys. Let's go.
What should I known about that? I didn't know about that. That would have been cool.
So we got a two for one.
Right.
And that house at least had some really interesting history. But she told us to come back anytime and she'd take us to the other house where they had the gallery readings.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, that one has all kinds of stuff that's happening. But the houses they had us doing the event in that we would have been with Coyote Kris, I don't think we would have gotten anything.
Right.
And I felt so bad, but at least getting everybody a tour of another location kind of helped.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was, it wasn't boring to say the least. It was, we had a good time and other than me getting sick, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting you guys and meeting new people and all that. So I had a really good time that weekend.
I did too. I mean, it was not a hard trip to get up there. Well, you flew, but
yeah,
we drove and, it was just so much fun meeting a lot of these people. Meeting Jay Lynch.
Yeah. Oh my God. He's hysterical. I met him for the first time about 3 or 4 years ago at SilCon. And first time I ever met him, he showed up in a pair of denim coveralls that were decorated like the American flag. And I have loved that man ever since. It was so funny.
That's funny because him and Rick Rose would dress alike.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's how I see Rick in my mind right now. When I think of Rick, I think of him in his cowboy boots, his really short alls, no shirt, and a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
That's how he was dressed when he went to Daytona. And I can still see this. Yes, he's walking on the line with all the race car drivers dressed like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I remember him and Jay, all the guys are in one vehicle. The women are in the other vehicle and they're doing Periscope, which that's kind of dating us already. They're doing Periscope between the two cars and I can hear them being completely obnoxious and poor Teresa going, it's like, you can't drive like this. But, I could just see her going, great. I got to deal with these at Hale's Dam Bar.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh,
I was supposed to go there probably about 3 or 4 years ago with Keith Age. And we were off and then we were on, then we were off, then we were on, then we were off. And he goes, and he finally told him, he goes, just forget it.
I'm just done. Yep.
Yeah. We have people that have to make plans to be there and just forget it.
Yeah. I have not been there. I know where it is. I haven't been there, but after one of those lovely paranormal trips, we were driving between Alton, Illinois and the coast. Got a concussion. Friend of mine is having a called me and say, "Hey, I've got a baby coming right now." Right now, it was, and we were driving down, and we stop at a rest area. We had not heard about Brushy Mountain yet. Okay, hadn't been on TV. Nobody really knew anything about it other than the real history of it, not the paranormal history.
Right.
And here's a sign saying Brushy Mountain Paranormal Tours.
Wow.
And it's a distillery, and I, I'm pointing it out to Ron because the rest area, there's nobody there. It's just me and Ron.
Right.
And we're looking at these signs because, when you get out of the car, you want to walk around and look.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at this and like, that's someplace we need to go. And I was just shocked that it's that big. I mean, I was excited to see it on TV to see more information. Well, I don't consider it information.
Right. Right.
But I can see the layout.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You could get.
Yeah. Do I want to go? That
I would love to go there. I've seen a couple of different shows about it, and I'm like, that's really interesting.
If you ever get back to Kentucky,
yeah,
I know you will.
Yeah.
If you get out to the Lexington, Frankfurt area, so you remember when Destination Fear went to the Old Crow Distillery?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm friends. We've visited with the owner, I don't know, a couple times. And we've spent probably 10, 12 hours out there with him. I sent him a message one time. I sent him a message and said, "Hey, can we come out and look around? It looks like a really neat property." And it's not very far from Frankfurt.
Right.
The road is treacherous to get there, but it is a distillery. And so we went out there. We met the master distiller. He took us on a tour and all that. One of the most beautiful places you ever want to go, but one of the most scary as far as, well, the building is like this.
Oh my, yeah.
And and it was built in, parts of it were built in like 1830, and it's just falling down. That's why it's scary, because it's falling down. But then you've got this one well that's got fish in it. The thing is this well doesn't go to Glens Creek at all. It's just there. And these fish are like this big. It's like, how in the heck did these fish get into this well?
I didn't think about that part. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's probably floods, but in bugs as well,
Right. Yeah.
Birds picked up stuff, dropped it, whatever. But it's really, and while we're walking around, we see we see deer and other wildlife just running through the area. And it's just so pretty and peaceful. So if you ever get a chance to go there, it's called Glens Creek Distilling now. It's not the Old Crow Distillery. Right. It's really neat. And is it haunted? I don't know. But it's beautiful and it's peaceful. And it should be haunted. Yeah. But we can't really get into the buildings because they're condemned and they're dangerous. Down the street, though, is the old Taylor Distillery. And it's called Castle and Key. They used to host events there for the presidents because Old Taylor was one of the presidents, Right. So it's a relationship. But you go down this road and this is all you see are these old distilleries down there. And it's just really pretty. So if you ever get a chance to go and check out Castle and Key as well. That she was one of the first women master distillers. Wow. That's impressive. So she did a bunch of articles, and they say that the area is haunted. Do I know that? No, but the minute I saw the place, I wanted to go on there, but it was closed when we went. And but I've been wanting to go there probably for 5 or 6 years, maybe even long. Well, Mom's been dead 5 years, so it's been at least 8 years that I want to go. Yeah. So check those out if you ever get a chance. It makes for a fun trip when you can go, hey, I went on a spirit tour. Right. Yeah, there you go. and guess what? You get to drink some. They always give you taste of everything. They got a bunch of tasting tours. Well, the first, I don't know if we're gonna do Rochester next year. I'm not sure about that just yet. But first one that we've signed up for 2023 is East Tennessee Paracon.
with Jay and Marie, and Sam's going to be there, and who else is going to be there?
Is that in Knoxville?
Pigeon Forge.
Pigeon Forge?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know.
Might have to go.
I
Well,
got family. I got
Well,
family.
it's so funny. I texted Marie the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, it's only an hour. I mean, we find these really obscure places when we travel and everything, and I love that. We found it's called the Country Market, Yoder's Country Market, and it's about an hour from Pigeon Forge, and it's run by Amish and Mennonite people.
Mhm. We have a whole bunch
Oh my God, it's the neatest store. And I've been there like 3 times. And so it's like, you and Jay have to come early. We're going Friday morning. She goes, I'm there. So we're like, yay, so we're going there. But trying to find, I've never been to that part of Tennessee. And so we're trying to find some other stuff to do while we're there, to see if we can investigate something.
There's a haunted restaurant in Gatlinburg.
Okay.
And it's a very expensive restaurant. So I don't know if they'll let you get in there. And then there's a ghost town on top of one of the mountains. But
bonus. Oh, cool.
It's hard to get to. So, but there's a bunch of stuff down there. Nick White lives in Sevierville.
Mm-hmm.
Or as the Northerners say, Seaverville, but it's Sevierville.
Right. Yeah.
As you can tell, I do know some of my stuff because of family. So when is that paranormal conference, the East Tennessee Paranormal? April
25th through the 28th. And that's going to be in Pigeon Forge. Let's see. I believe also the some of the Tennessee Wraith Chasers are going to be there. I don't know.
You can't have an event in Tennessee without a Wraith Chaser there.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, but I knew that Jay and Marie moved to Tennessee, and then they moved near. It wasn't near Nashville.
I think so. I believe so.
Because I remember when they left Arizona and they were driving across, and because they moved right after I interviewed them. It wasn't long after that they moved. It
wasn't long after. Well, let's see. It wasn't long after one of the Vulture cities.
Yeah.
Which is another one that we're going to be going to. Past couple of years, we've been staying on the East Coast, and I said we need to go West Coast. So I think we're going to do Vulture City, and then Dave Oman for years has been inviting me to come check out his house, and so I think we're going to try sometime late summer to go to LA to go check out his house.
Save some money for gas.
Yeah, well, I've driven that before, and I'm flying. I'm flying to, but every time he invites me, it's like a couple of days. I said, Dave, I live in LA, not LA. You have to give me more than 2 days notice.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It could take you 2 days to get someplace in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah. Because the first time that we went to LA, I was still in Dallas. That was years ago, and it took us 26 hours.
Oh yeah, we drive.
But over half of that was just getting through Texas.
Oh yeah, we drive from here to Vegas, and that is 22 hours.
Yes.
And that's not counting, hey, I want to stop at this haunted place, and I want to stop at this haunted place. Oh, and I got to stop for pie. Whatever. I'm serious. I have to stop for pie. It's with Ron, it's usually ice cream. With me, it's pie. It is what it is. So
your vacations are kind of like mine. Mine are all based on cool haunted places that are near there. That's how I plan my vacations.
I do that. We do that. And food. We plan on, where. Yeah. The only good thing for Ron is they opened a Whataburger here, so now we don't have to stop at Whataburgers anymore.
Now, where are you located again?
We're south of Kansas City. Kansas City finally got Whataburgers.
Yes, I know, because of my schoolmate. Well, I mean, he graduated a few years after I did. I went to the same school as Patrick Mahomes. Yep. I went to White House.
Well, the thing is, he doesn't own the ones that we go to. His haven't opened yet.
No, he told me, they asked him, what do you miss? And he said Whataburger. And like within a month or so, they had like 4 that were opening up. And I'm like, okay, you couldn't have said Dairy Queen. You had to say, you know. But,
Well, they're not only that, we now have 5 Whataburgers. We have 4 that are getting ready to open. The closest one to my house is not open yet, and it's owned by the Mahomes Group. BMH.
Yeah.
So it's owned by him, at least partnershiped with him. And I think one of his is opened on the Missouri side. So because Missouri happened to open before Kansas.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
But again, I'd already been to the ones, 2 of them already on the Missouri side.
Mhm.
But here you can't get in. All the road, they have to these traffic patterns they have to create just so the cars can get in. So it's ridiculous. But they're also saying that they're talking about us getting in and out now.
Oh, okay.
How many burger places do we need?
Exactly.
And I told Ron, I said, this is going to stop me having places that I got to stop on my trips.
Right.
But my places that we have to stop is going through New Mexico is Blake's Slaughterburger. There's some in Texas, but only in El Paso.
Well, that's barely Texas. Okay.
I know. I don't even know if it's claimed by Texas and it's definitely not claimed by New Mexico, but it's probably not even claimed by Texas. But, but yeah, we stopped there. But like I said, every trip revolves around someplace I have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We did that when we were in Massachusetts this past weekend. Of course, I go to Massachusetts, I automatically want clam chowder.
Yep.
And one of the things that we do is when we travel, we don't eat places that we've got back home.
Right. You can't do that. You have to eat something local every day.
Yes. And we've got, and so we went to the first night we were there. We ate at this little bitty hole in the wall, and I love supporting mom and pop shops, local businesses. I love supporting that. Yep. We went to this little bitty place, and it was a restaurant, and it was also a market, and that was so good. It really was. You could tell people, I guess, they try harder and they put more into their food, and it was just really, really good.
Yeah. Did you happen to get any lobster rolls or anything like that while you were out?
I had one when I was there in Salem about 3 years ago, and I love lobster, but I really wasn't that fond of the lobster rolls, the hot or the cold one.
Too much mayonnaise.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And me being from Baltimore, I'm going for a crab cake. I don't care where I'm at. I want a crab cake in New Orleans. I want a crab cake in on the East Coast, Florida, you name it. I want a crab cake. I don't, right. And I tell you can tell how good of a restaurant is by their crab cake.
Right. And so before I go somewhere, sometimes I will watch Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Sorry to plug Guy Fieri twice in the show, but watch Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives and find something local to where I'm going to be. And they have some really good crab places that he's been to, like the mom and pop shops and things like that. I love that. But yeah, we had some of that while we were in Baltimore, actually, about 2-3 years ago. I'm trying not to include 2020, as you can tell.
Yeah.
I have to guesstimate beyond 2020 as to when I was where. But yeah, that's one thing that I like to do before we go on the road is look and see diners, drive-ins, and dives, find local places and things like that. We went to one place, and I'm blunt. I'm honest. I'm blunt and honest. And we went to this one restaurant that we were there. I was there about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was right on the water, right outside of Salem. best clam chowder I ever had in my life. And the guy comes back and he said, "So how is everything?" And I'm like, "What has changed?"
Mhm.
And he goes, "Well, we have this, we have this, we have, we've created this patio out here and we have a new chef." And I said, "That's your problem."
Yeah.
And I told him that. And I was like, "Whatever the old chef did to this clam chowder, you need to go back to." And he goes, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, yeah. I said, "It was significant enough for me to come back 3 or 4 years later. And I'm telling you, ick." So,
I mean, we do plan our trips around what we liked the last time.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
It becomes a habit after, so, and you look forward to that. And then it's like, I'm so let down.
Yes.
And so like there's a place that we go to in Williams, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Every trip we had to stop. Once I found it, we had to go every time.
Right.
And, because Ron said, he goes, "Fine, we couldn't get to our hotel until a certain day. So we had to do stuff along the way." And so I planned everything out, saying, "Okay, we're going to eat here. We're going to eat here. We're going to go here." That's really important. So you have to find the things that make you happy. So, and you know what? If our tummies are happy, we're happy.
Right. Exactly.
So when you went to Baltimore, was this with Reap Investigations?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually did an overnight investigation at the Lord Baltimore Hotel.
That was down the street from where I was born.
Yeah. And we actually took one of the days and we went to, of course, to see, where Edgar Allan Poe is buried. And then we went to go see one of his houses where he lived for a few years.
Yeah, right there in Fells Point.
Yes.
So I broke into that house when I was 12.
Okay.
And so one of the places that the Reaps investigate is in Essex.
Yes.
That's where I went to elementary school, junior high school. The 1 year of high school that I went. Yeah, that's where I'm from, actually.
Okay.
When I tell people I'm from Baltimore, yeah, I was born in the University of Baltimore Hospital. But and I lived downtown when I was very little, but the rest of it, I always just tell Essex was home. That's where I have most of my memories.
Right.
And I know that they've been, I've seen some of the investigations. And like I was telling Carl before the show, we talked about this, is that it's so different looking at it from somebody else's point of view now. When I knew it was these places were haunted over 40 years. I've been married to Ron 38 years. We've been together 39.
Right.
But you figure over 40 years ago, I was telling my friends about these places being haunted. And now people are finally going, "Oh my God, these places are haunted." And it's like, duh. Why didn't somebody ask me?
Right. Right.
But I haven't been back to Baltimore. I haven't. Yeah, I could have started a TV show when I was 8. But yeah, it's one of those things that, go back to 1980.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna listen to me in 1970.
It wasn't the thing to talk about back then.
No. And it just was what it was. It's just kind of, like I said, it's just funny now. And I haven't been back since 1989. I haven't been back to Baltimore.
Well, that was I was actually supposed to go because the first year that they did the World's Largest Ghost Hunt, they did it at the Lord Baltimore. And I was supposed to go there, but I help out Bloody Mary quite a bit at her museum with her tours and ghost hunts, things like that. And so she became a location that first year. And so I stayed here and helped her. So I didn't get to go to Lord Baltimore until actually Valentine's Day of the next year. And it was really interesting because my roommate, when I get there and everything, I'm seeing everything in Baltimore is Calvert.
Lord Calvert.
Yes. Well, that's my roommate's family. I didn't put the two together at all. I told her, I was like, why is your name all over Baltimore? And she's like, that's because we're the Calverts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So that's my roommate who lives here. That's all her family. And I'm like, oh, well, that's fascinating. And then of course, when I went, I had to go to Charm City Cakes.
Mm-hmm. Well, why not?
I had to.
So, so that did not exist when I was growing up.
Right.
Because he's actually a little, well, I'm 29 and he's still older than me. Actually, I'm not, everybody knows I'm really not 29. But yeah, he's younger than me. So Duff is younger.
Well, not only that, but I mean, he's not really based in Baltimore anymore. He's more in LA now. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was still interesting. The building itself was fascinating. It was really cool looking. All the stone, and I don't know what was there before, what that building was before he moved into it, but it was a really, really, really cool building.
I don't know where it was. I never saw it. So there's a lot of really unusual buildings if it's downtown.
I'll send you a picture that I have of the building, and maybe you'll know it from there.
Okay, so if you were downtown, you saw the Inner Harbor.
Yeah.
The USS Constellation.
We saw it. We didn't go on it, but we saw it. Yes.
Well, a few weeks ago, we had a guy on who his experience was part of the experience that they used for shoot.
Hello.
Yeah. Say hi. So they know you're real. It's my grandson.
Hi.
His sister was in the hospital tonight, so he's here with us. So, shoot. Dave Schrader, Cindy Kaza, and Shane Pittman, when they did their show.
Oh, yeah. The Holzer Files.
Okay, so when they did that, they used this guy's story because that's who, I guess Hans Holzer probably interviewed them a little bit about the ship.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those ones where he never went. I don't remember. Yes. But I had a paranormal experience on there during a school field trip. Here, you want to go draw me a picture? You want to draw me a picture? Thank you. Go over on the bed, please. Thank you. So, I'm a good grandma.
Yep. I try. I got 6 of them. I try.
You have grandkids?
I have 6. I have 6 of them. Yeah.
You don't look old enough to have any grandkids.
Thank you.
So, I have 4 living grandchildren and one angel grandchild. So,
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Well, I don't want to leave her out.
Right. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. She existed, and she should be acknowledged.
So, but yeah, I don't know if the USS Torque is still there. There's a submarine just down the road from there. It's near Edgar Allan Poe's house.
Okay.
But I'm glad you got to go there because they were going to tear it down, Edgar Allan Poe's house.
Yeah.
There was a petition to keep that from happening, but there's a bar down the street from there. It used to be called the Kitty Cat Club.
Oh, my word. Okay.
Yeah. My grandmother took me there. Okay. My grandmother died back in 1989. Okay. So this was a long time before
right.
that.
Right.
And, it was one of the longest run bars in Fells Point.
Wow.
So also haunted. There's so many things, but the Inner Harbor, the harbor place, I remember when that was a drawing on a friend of mine's father's desk.
Wow.
So it's amazing. And, the science center I remember when there was nothing there. I used to live maybe 500, 600 yards from the harbor.
Wow. Okay.
And back then our rent was $25 a month.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, that was it. You could smell McCormick's, the spice company. It smelled so good. It was downtown, right across the street from the harbor place. And that's all you could smell.
Wow.
Every day. And they sold all those houses for $1. All
Oh my
those
God.
back in the 80s, they sold them all for $1 with a saying, hey, if you buy this house, you have to put $10,000 into it. So basically, it was to rehab that whole area there where Federal Hill is and the Inner Harbor area. And amazingly enough, people did it.
Yeah.
That apartment that we lived in, my mom went and looked at it. They were wanting $2,500 a month for it.
Oh,
back
good.
in 2000.
Okay.
Probably now it's probably back to $25 a month.
We didn't realize because see, we went to the cemetery where Edgar Allan Poe was buried. And
The
then
first time or the second time?
the first time. And then we walked over to the house. We did not realize how far we had walked until we started mapping getting back to the Lord Baltimore. And we're like, Uber. We're like, we didn't realize.
That's where he was buried the first time because he's
Yes.
actually buried out in Westchester.
Yeah.
And so, long story, but
Yeah.
again, it's one of those neat stories that you can't go to Baltimore without knowing about
Yeah.
the story of the liquor and the rose on his grave every year.
Right. And then I thought it was interesting that the assistant to Francis Scott Key is buried in the same cemetery.
Mhm.
And I'm like, the little things that you find out, the little hidden things, you're like, that's really cool. I mean, that's interesting. That, of course, some people would think it's boring as all get up, but I'm a history buff. It's my major in college, so anything historical is going to catch my attention.
Did you guys get to go out to Fort McHenry at all?
No.
That's something you got to do.
We focused completely on the event was the investigation at the Lord Baltimore. We had an older lady that was there with us. I mean, just as cute as she can be, dressed to the nines, but she was very, very down to earth. She had a friend with her. She's probably in her 70s or 80s. Was there and just nice as she could be. We were all just sitting around talking, and they said, "Do you know who she is?" And I'm like, "No, I know her name is this." And they said, "Her son owns the Orioles." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, all right, well."
Okay, fun fact, I went to school with Billy Ripken. So, and my mom used to serve the Orioles when they would come into the bar that she worked at.
Mm-hmm.
And she also worked at one of the Preakness bars, one of the bars outside where the Pimlico is. They used to call it Pimlico Inn. And my mom dated Jim Palmer.
Okay.
So yeah, my whole life.
Small world.
Well, to make this even more fun, my mom was a single mom, and she was very young when she was widowed. So needless to say, she was pretty.
Yeah.
People paid attention to the pretty waitress,
Right.
And it is what it is. But it made for an interesting teenagehood.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Mom would show up at school and they'd go, "Who's the new kid?" So that's probably what they do to you too. But yeah, I mean, I remember my mom sitting in the back of the class, and one of the teachers says, "I guess we got a new student today." I don't know if he was trying to come on to her or what. And did he? And my next question is, are you that clueless that you don't notice that we look alike? And it was like,
he probably didn't even. I mean, once she walked in, you were just like not there or something. It was all about her. So you looking alike probably didn't even enter into his head.
No, I know. So it just makes you laugh. Of course, we got a new student story from Ron's mom, which was even worse. A long story short, his mom developed over the summer, and the teacher thought she was a new student when she came back.
Oh my!
Apparently, he noticed. He actually made her stand up and introduce herself.
She blossomed.
I mean, but
the thing is, my mom's the class is so small and the school's so small that everybody knew each other.
Right.
And now looking around like there's no new student here.
Nobody saw her over the summer to know that she had blossomed like that.
no, just the teacher hadn't seen her because the teacher had been gone.
Oh, Oh, my bad. Okay,
So
I missed.
all the kids are looking around like,
Yeah.
there's nobody here. There's
We got new
There's
kids.
nobody new here.
yeah, it's the same
Yeah, they're
8
like,
people
"There's
that
nobody
were
here,
here
man."
last year because it's a little town in Iowa
Yeah.
Right, right.
and a little school. I mean, it was like what, maybe 3 rooms, 4 in the whole school. It wasn't much. So, but yeah, it's those stupid Iowa school stories that we. But I was like, are they really that clueless in Iowa? So when we were in Iowa, did you get a loose meat sandwich at that place down the street?
No, I did not. Mish did.
We did.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Because we got it made
Well,
right.
for one thing, I detest mustard, and I mean, I watched them make mishes, and they like slathered it on there, and I'm like, oh,
No, we ordered it without. Because I don't like mustard either.
Oh, I will gag on mustard. No, Mish ordered one, and I mean, devoured the whole thing very quickly and loved it. But I'm like, I can't.
Their milkshakes were good too.
Yeah.
Mm.
And and their pie was good. We got pie.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I told Ron, I said, we've got to get them made right because this is the place where they're made. And I said, your mom knows all about them. He goes, I've never heard her say anything. And so he asked his mom, and his mom goes, oh yeah. She goes, we used to go all the time.
Well, I mean, the place was packed when we went by there. I mean, almost as soon as somebody, because Kelly let Mish drive her car for a while, while we were there.
Yeah.
And as soon as somebody said something about about it, Mish was like, oh, we have to go. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go. And we went, and I saw them slathering on the mustard, and everybody's ordering it like that. I'm like, no. I'm good. I'm good.
For those of you who don't know, this Made Right is the oldest one in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first one in Iowa as well. So there you go. That's why it's the oldest. But loose meat sandwiches got a lot of talk back during the Roseanne days. So when the show existed for Roseanne and now the Connors, they still talk about every once in a while on the Connors loose meat sandwiches. And so it's ground beef that's been broken up into teeny tiny little bitty pieces with some other stuff in it. I don't know what, but we tried it. It was good. And
isn't that technically a sloppy Joe?
Nope, because it doesn't have any liquid.
Oh, okay.
It's just basically seasoned ground beef that's in little bitty pieces.
Okay. Now I'm sorry. No offense to anybody who loves those things, but I'm glad I didn't get one now.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound appealing at all.
Yeah. Like I said, it was good. It just basically was a hamburger that was disassembled.
There you go. Okay. All right.
So it made me think of when I take the ground beef, cook it, and then throw it in the food processor to make it smaller for like lasagna and stuff. That's what it reminded me of.
Okay.
So, but
did you guys go out to the cemetery with the chair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you sit in it? Are you going to die?
Well, we're all going to die eventually, but no, I was like, I don't really believe in that kind of thing, but at the same time, I'm not going to put it out in the universe. So no, I didn't sit in it. We took pictures of it, but I didn't sit in it.
Yeah.
It was a really neat graveyard. It was sad to look at the trees from the derecho.
Yeah.
And then not long after that, they had the tornado that came through there as well.
Yeah.
And then this past year, they got hit with another tornado.
When we were out there, a guy happened to drive up and actually sat in it.
Yeah, some guy did.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember there was a guy that I was actually watching his video, and he was videoing himself.
It was Chuck Banks.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I know who it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really believe in that kind of thing, but I'm not going to like put that out there and tempt fate. And so, no, we didn't sit in it. Neither one of us did.
Well, every time I go to the doctor, I come home and Ron goes, well, how are you? I said, I'm dying. Doctor says I'm dying. And he goes, okay. It's like, I am. I mean, I know it. I mean, I haven't started going backwards in age. I mean, I'm still 29, but yeah, it's not going backwards in age. So I am going to die someday.
Well,
It is what it is.
mhm.
But yeah, I really liked going to the graveyard. It was an interesting, it was interesting looking at the graves. But like I said, the sadder part was the trees being naked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really sad.
Did you get to visit with Travis Walton?
No.
No.
I heard him speak for a few minutes, but I'll be completely honest.
Not interested in UFOs, right?
No, not really. No, I'm not saying, I'm not closed-minded enough to say that they don't exist. I'm just saying, as far as paranormal, it really doesn't hold my interest the way ghosts do.
Yeah.
And actually, until a few years ago, when I was in Ohio, we were staying at an RV camp in Ohio, and I'm sitting at this table by myself, and I hear a noise like I have never heard in my life. And I'm sitting here going, okay, maybe it's somebody yelling in the background or something like that. And a couple of minutes later, I heard it again. And I'm like, what is that? And then a couple of minutes later, I heard it a third time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out that they have a thing at this particular resort that they call it the Ghost in the Woods. And a woman had actually, just the week before, there had been several Bigfoot sightings just the week before we got there. And I mean, it was not like any sound I had ever heard in my life. Are you sure
it wasn't Jay Lynch?
Do what?
Are you sure it wasn't Jay Lynch? She does.
Yes, I'm positive.
Like a scream, or more
like it was a combination of things. It was like a scream and a roar and a growl all at the same time. It was nothing like I'd ever heard before in my, and I'm like, I couldn't even imitate it or anything like that.
Right.
I pulled up several different videos online of people who had recordings of that. And hello, how are you? Thank you very much. I love Amazon Prime. But it was, let me get in a better light. My bad. I came outside. But I pulled up and it was.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's her. So she's walking around.
Let me go back over here.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yes.
There we go. Yay. Okay. It's funny that you say that about, about who is it? Bodine?
Yeah. Bodine Bigfoot.
Yes. And when we were in Middletown, and I said, "Oh, where's Bigfoot?" And I'm like, "Oh, there he is." I said, "I'm probably the first person in history to ever say that." Oh, look, where's Bigfoot? There he is. Yeah. Everybody's always searching for him, and there he was right there. And it just clicked as funny. And I actually talked to Jay about this experience that we had in Ohio. And I was trying to describe to him what I heard. Mm-hmm. And then the next day we went for a hike through these woods out there. And the only thing that I had to measure was my cigarette pack. So I laid my cigarette pack down by the footprint that we found. And I mean, it was much, at least twice, because I smoke 120s. I'm sorry, I just do. But I mean, it was at least twice the size of that cigarette pack, the footprint that we found. And then not far from there, we found this, wasn't really a cave, but it was kind of a lean-to built, like you could tell it was like some kind of lean-to built type thing. And it was, oh my God, it stunk to high heaven. But I mean, I don't delve a whole lot into Bigfoot, but that one experience piqued my interest more than it had than I had before. That okay, this thing really could exist. So,
Well, we've talked to a lot of people on the subject, and I'm trying. I'm like you on the aliens. I'm trying to keep my mind open on it, but I still don't. Until I see something, it's kind of like with ghosts. I guess maybe I wouldn't have believed in ghosts if I hadn't seen them my whole life.
right.
I don't know, but I want more proof. I want more than some bear scat and some random hair, because that could be the random hair could have come from anybody, anything. So until they show me something conclusive, I don't know what I'm going to say or do at the time, But I want to know more when it comes right down to it. But one of the things that I liked about Travis Walton was he didn't talk like everything was matter of fact. I don't know, with the part that you heard. Yeah, he just talked about what was matter of fact for him, not matter of fact for all aliens, which I liked that. And funny story is I was one of the I think I asked the last question, and it was, well, who was his favorite Kardashian?
Okay.
He had been on the Kardashians.
Oh, he has. Okay.
And I didn't know that. We had no clue.
Yes. That question, I was like,
Ron's like,
what are you talking
they're going to
about?
kick you out of here. What he thought. And Travis Walton sat up straighter, smiled, and he goes, I love Bruce Jenner. He starts talking about meeting them and how much he enjoyed Bruce Jenner and the history of Bruce's medals and everything. And I mean, he totally changed from this guy that's talking really serious to being really animated and talking about something that he really enjoyed. So apparently he really enjoys the history of the Olympics.
Okay.
But my daughter sent me the question. She goes, Mom, because that's how she knew who he was. She didn't know anything other than I said, Travis Walton's going to be there. And she's like, oh, can you ask him this question? And I was like,
I didn't, of course, I don't keep up with the Kardashians,
I
but
don't either. But again, I knew him from the movie, Fire in the Sky, and some of the things that I had seen.
Right.
Again, trying to be open-minded on this because I don't know. I mean, I know that we can't be the only. Well, I would say intelligent. I would say intelligent, but it's intelligent.
I think it's arrogant of us to think that we are the only intelligent planet, in planet with intelligent life on it.
Right. And just because we don't see it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But again, it's the same thing with Bigfoot. It's still, I don't know. But it's interesting though when you think about it. I mean, just how are they getting here? How are they getting away from here? What about all those petroglyphs and on the wall, in the Southwest?
Yeah.
In Warrenton, Missouri. There's some petroglyphs in Warrenton, Missouri, in the caves there. I don't know what's there, but I've seen the ones in Arizona in the Painted Desert. I've seen the ones in New Mexico that look like aliens and robots or astronauts, flying ships. What are we supposed to think?
Yeah.
Were they here back then? I mean, they had to have been here back then. I mean, it's not like they're going to just spend their time, doing all this stuff on the walls if
they didn't see it.
Something. So
they didn't see what, they're painting what they're seeing.
Yep. That's what,
their version or their perception of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it just doesn't. I'll be honest, it just doesn't hold my interest the way that ghosts do. I've been doing this, almost 30 years now, and one thing that I've learned, especially attending all the cons and speaking with all the people that I've spoken with and everything else, is that we're all still learning.
Yeah.
We are all there. I'm sorry, but there are no experts.
No, there's just some people that have more experience than others. That's all there is.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly. I mean, they have particular methods that seem to work for them, and I'm interested to hear that. And I've had my own experiences, and it just 99% of the experiences that it's that 1% that keeps me into it.
right. And
99% of it you can explain away, you can debunk and all that, but it's that 1% that keeps me like, okay, all right.
that's
And
that's
I've
normal.
been to some of the most, the most haunted places in this country, and there's a lot. I at one point in time, I'm going to win the lottery, and I'm going to go on the haunted tour, start in one end of the country and go to the other, and and but I've still been to some really fascinating places, and that make me go, okay, yeah, yeah,
And of those fascinating places you're talking about, what one is the one that made you go, this is the place I got to tell everybody about?
I will be honest, it would be the Granbury Opera House in Granbury, Texas. That place, probably the most active while I was there. I saw some things that, we were in one of the first experiences that we had. We actually set up our base camp on the stage. And all of a sudden we're standing there, and all of a sudden the spotlights start flashing in front of us, and we're immediately looking for somebody who is messing with the plot. We don't know anything about this equipment. Do not be touching that. We found out that the spotlights were controlled in a booth up in the balcony that was locked, and nobody was in there. And so we immediately head up to the balcony. I set part of my team up in the balcony, and I'm standing up there, and there's like several rows. I've got two of my investigators sitting, and I'm standing in the balcony facing them. And there's like a row in between us, a row of chairs in between us. And they have the theater seats that that only come down if you push it down and you sit in it. The rest of the time they flip back up.
Mm-hmm.
And so the row in between us, we heard some kind of noise off to our left, my left, their right. And we look down, and we see all the way down, somebody is like a kid walking around, slamming the seats down all the way down the row. And we're just sitting here with our mouths dropped open, watching these seats. And I'm like, holy crap. Please tell me somebody got that on camera, And, but, and then we got, of course, this place is also rumored that John Wilkes Booth performed there after the assassination.
Wow.
How soon was he captured after the assassination attempt? I thought it wasn't too long.
Well, the man that, I think it was like 3 days. There was a man that was caught in the barn, and he was burned. They say that was him. However, when they went back and did like autopsy and everything, there were certain things that did not add up. Like John Wilkes Booth had his appendix removed. This person that was burned did not. John Wilkes Booth broke his leg when he jumped down off the balcony. The person that they burned, his leg was not broken.
So he did an H.H. Holmes kind of, hey, we're going to fake this, or even Jesse James.
Something like that. So supposedly he died years later, but it was rumored that he actually performed at the Granbury Opera House after the assassination. Well, we had one section of the balcony that was under construction. We couldn't go there. It was completely closed off. We took a picture and saw a shadow person sitting in one of the chairs. You could see the full shadow. You could see the brim of the hat. You could see that it was a man with a coat and everything. And just sitting over there in the balcony. And it was, I'm like, oh my gosh. So we had, I mean, quite a few. We were the first group to ever get to spend the night there. And it was the whole night was just fascinating. But that's, I mean, I've been to St. Albans. I've been to Waverly twice. I've been to, all these different places and everything. But that is probably at the top, as of yet, at the top of my list. But yeah, and we got some interesting EVPs. I got one EVP actually on my camcorder, not on a recorder, but on my camcorder. We go back and listen to it, and it says, "We're after you."
So after you, as in chasing you, or just after you're done, they're there?
I don't know. It just said, all I got was, "We're after you," and I'm like, okay, well, all right, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes we take everything as "we're after you," or "no, we're after you." It just depends on where the emphasis is.
Exactly. But I mean, it was almost like it was just barely over a whisper. I couldn't even tell if it was male or female, but it said, "We're after you." And I'm like, okay, all right.
That is interesting. Next question I have for you is there any place that you prefer not to go back to besides Middletown, Ohio?
People are going to shoot me for saying this, but I'm going to have to be honest and say I've done 2 overnights at Waverly, and I really have no desire to go back.
Okay.
And I mean, I actually, the second time that I went there, we actually had a really, really interesting experience on the 4th floor. They have creepy crawly thing on the 4th floor, and we're walking down the hall, and the balcony is to my right, where they have the open balcony and everything. Mm-hmm. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this black figure, and it's not following us. It's keeping pace with us.
Oh.
All the way down the balcony. It's actually looking at us, keeping pace with us all the way down. And my daughter, I started taking her on investigation when she was about 11.
Okay.
She just made 33 in July.
That's about the same age I started taking my youngest daughter.
Yeah. And so I wasn't real big. I was still learning, I'm still learning now, but I was still learning about, psychometry and things. And she would walk up to things and she would touch them. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "You can't feel that?" Well, since she's had my granddaughters, she didn't even have to touch anything anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's because, as moms, we get eyes in the back of our head. We know everything that's going on.
Yes. And, she had a couple of we actually got there late. And so it was just her and me in the body chute. And we were walking down the stairs, and I kept feeling something not quite right, on the back of my neck. My daughter's in front of me. She doesn't even turn around or anything like that. I kind of paused, and she goes, "She's just curious." And I'm like, "Who?" And she goes, "The lady that's walking behind you." And I'm like, okay, all right. So we go on. And then they told the story about the guy and his dog that were killed. Well, she was walking through this one area, and she kept getting these bursts of energy. She goes, "I have never experienced anything like this in my life." She kept getting these bursts of energy, very excited, very, and then they told the story about the dog, and she goes, "That's it."
She's feeling the dog.
Yes. And she said, "I have never been in tune with an animal like that in my life." But she said she was really excited about it because there was nothing negative about it. It was just these bursts of excitement, like when dogs see people, like, "Oh, hey." And she said it was the neatest experience of her life to be able to experience that.
Well, thank goodness you didn't bring a tennis ball with you that day.
Yeah. But we got to the 4th floor, and the first time we were just walking down the hall. When it was our turn to go and investigate the 4th floor, she was almost in tears. She had actually gotten a protection amulet earlier in the day at the con. She had a death grip on this, and she's almost in tears. She goes, I can't do the 4th floor. I cannot. And I'm like, I'm not going to force you. If you don't want to do it, we're not going to. So we did not go back down to the 4th floor. She absolutely could not do it. So
kind of sounds like she was a little manic while she was there.
Yes, definitely.
So
yeah,
you know what? We're at a point where I need to take a short break.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Brandon here, host of Shaman Sundays. Join me every Sunday as we discuss everything from the paranormal to self-healing. We'll sprinkle in a couple of fun guests along the way. Show airs 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central every Sunday, right here on the Bill of Rights Network. #born. Join me, won't you?
For the past 6.5 years, Paula and Gavin have traveled the U.S. to investigate the mysterious, the unknown, and the paranormal. They were always outsiders, only able to experience events through their own eyes. On their next journey, they joined forces with 6 investigative paranormal teams across the country to explore their local legends side by side. Join us as we learn the stories, meet the teams, and gather the evidence to determine if these tales are truth or legend.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rex.
And I'm Shane.
We have a new show on the Bill of Rights Network. It is called Music, Movies, and Maybe More.
We explore bands that we've heard of that a lot of people haven't, that we feel like you should know about.
And we do the same with movies. There's a lot of movies out there that we know about that other people should know about as well.
And as for the maybe more part, you never know what else we can come up with.
So, on the Bill of Rights Network, every Saturday night, live at 7 p.m. Central Time, music, movies, and maybe more will be on. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you there. Now we'll return you back to Paranormal Pride and Denise Pridemore.
There you go. We got long enough to go for you to go smoke a cigarette. And me
Can
to
you hear
go-
me?
Yep, I can hear you. So, hopefully,
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Turn your volume up. I can hear you. Let's see. Not me. I'm talking to you. It ain't gonna help.
Hold on. I can't hear you. Hold on.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to start making myself little things for them to see. This just says volume. Let's see if I can.
You didn't change it.
No, I did not change anything. Carl, you can hear me, right? Yep. Okay.
I still can't hear you.
Go out and come back in. Let me kick you out.
Let me put my earbuds in. Hold on.
Okay. And say, if all else fails, I kick her out and make her come back in. So.
Okay.
I'd like,
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me put my earbuds in. Hold on.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say hi to Rex, Nick, Raymond, and Frank Bennett. April,
Stop.
if you're still here, hey, how are you? So, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. Good.
I don't know what changed between there.
I don't know. I don't know. All of a sudden, it's like you came back and you weren't. I could see you, but I couldn't hear you. But anyway, okay.
Yeah. Frank Bennett says he's glad to see you're back.
Oh, hello. Hi, Frank.
And I'm not going to say what he said.
Why?
You can see it.
Was it bad?
And he just says, glad to see you're back in the saddle after the boob job. He goes, I mean surgery. So
No.
that's the last thing you needed was a boob job. So
No, I don't need help in that area. Hold on. Antoinette, stop. Sorry.
So you said something earlier, and I'm going to have you elaborate on it. You were saying something about Bloody Mary. Can you expound upon that for our audience?
Bloody Mary is she's a good friend of mine. Awesome person. I help her out at her shop. I help her out with her ghost tours, with her haunted tours, and I help out with her investigations at her shop when she needs me. Anybody that comes to New Orleans, I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to take a good historical haunted tour, take her tour. And I'm not just saying that because she's my friend. If she can't back it up with historical proof, newspaper articles and all that, she's not going to tell the story. That includes the Lalaurie Mansion.
Now that's a place that, historically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to get into. Knew I couldn't. That and the Sultan's Palace.
Sultan's Palace is actually not true.
It isn't. It doesn't
No.
surprise me.
No,
but again,
that was actually a house where, like, a local, I think it was like the son of a politician who had more money than sense, and threw a lot of parties and everything, blew through all of his money, and then when all the money was gone, they left.
Mhm.
How the Sultan's Palace legend was born, I don't know. But there's nobody. I mean, I've been to the dungeon bar, and supposedly, he's buried in the courtyard outside the bar, and that's not true. And another one that is not true is the whole legend of Saint Germain.
okay.
A lot of-
You know what? I don't know if I even remember that one.
Saint Germain is supposedly this vampire that lives,
Oh, okay.
and a lot of the stories, a lot of people will tell, about the Saint Germain that lives. Well, I have a friend of mine that whenever somebody brings that up, I will call him and I'm like, okay, Stephen, tell them. And he is Stephen Saint Germain. And I said, okay, Stephen, tell him. And he goes, there's no vampires in my family.
Well, there's probably somebody sucking off of something, but it ain't blood.
Exactly. But and then also the convent that's over there, and and they're supposedly, they say that there's coffins up there, and and all this other stuff, and that's not true either. So, but yeah, if she cannot prove it historically with facts and newspaper articles and that sort of thing, she doesn't tell the stories.
That's good, because that's how I feel about the when I was tour guide up in Atchison.
Yeah.
There were so many of those stories that were not true, and I did not know which ones weren't true until just before we got out of doing it.
Yeah,
they did such a good job of hiding the information that they did have, that I didn't have time to research every single place on there. I'm busy with the Sally House. I had to deal with that one, but that was me. I want facts. I don't want
rumor. You don't want legend. You don't want.
It's okay to tell the legend, but tell them the facts as well. Because that's what I used to do. Is I would say these are the legends, because the Sally House 5 or 6 legends.
Sometimes the facts were better than the made-up story.
Right, the facts are better than the made-up story.
Right,
because it makes you think about the haunting in real time. Okay, if this can happen, these stories that are factual, this means it really can happen.
Right.
And if you think about it in another way, you're going, well, that can't be real. And it's not, So I always thought that the Sultan's Palace was very far-fetched story.
It is.
But again, I never researched it. The last time we were there was 6 weeks before Katrina, and we haven't been back. So I'm not going to waste my time researching someplace I can't go. Right. So it's good
one of the places that everybody wants to go, and of course, do you know the story of Zach and Addie?
Yes.
Okay, so their apartment is above Bloody Mary's museum.
Right.
And that's automatically where everybody wants to go. The museum, yay, it's interesting. Yeah. But they want to go upstairs. And so I do a lot of investigations up there in the apartment. As far as seeing the paranormal, seeing things, I see the result of something happening, but most of mine has been audio. This was the first time I actually had something physical, and it was fascinating to me, because I'm standing in the bathroom where I'm standing with my back to the bathroom where, of course, Addie was dismembered, and Mary is sitting in front of me, and she goes, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "I'm not exactly sure." She goes, "I just saw a black hand pass in front of your face." And I'm like, "Okay." And then right after she said that, I actually felt arms wrap around me from behind and hugged me. And it was actually it was very comforting. It was just, and I said, "She's hugging me." And she goes, "I know, you have gold sparks flying out of your hair." And I'm like, but it was like, I could tell it was her rather than Zach, because she was like 5'2".
Yeah.
And in heels, I'm lucky to be 5'2", 5'3". You've seen my shoes.
Actually, I'm 5'3", and even with your shoes, you're not even close.
Right. Okay. Well,
I'm sorry.
But she was 5'2", and I could actually feel somebody who was close to my height coming up behind me, and I physically felt her arms wrap around me and hug me. whereas Zach was 6'7".
Yeah.
And you could feel the difference between somebody leaning down to hug you and somebody who's just coming up behind you and hugging you. And that's happened to me about 3 times in that place. And my first instinct was like, somebody grab a camera. Somebody grab a camera.
Yeah.
We've got meters going off like crazy. And I mean, I'm just standing there just allowing her to hug me because everybody wants to focus on Zach, who committed this, and not a whole lot of people focus on her, the victim.
Right. Because they want to have an experience with a dark entity.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know, that this was a murder-suicide.
Yes.
And I know that Mary goes into that on one of the episodes of, was it Ghost Adventures?
I believe so.
She goes into it, explains, shows everybody through the apartment and all that stuff. And she goes into it. And it's really, it's very sad. And it was just after Katrina that it happened, right?
Yep. The year after Katrina. And he killed her on October the 6th of 2006 and left her on the stove. He wasn't eating her. He was just trying to get rid of the body, but left her cooking for 11 days. A lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol fueled. And not only that, but I honestly believe his PTSD was just off the charts because he served in Iraq and had a really, really hard time when he got back.
The question I would have is, was he possessed by something that came back with him? Was he different when he came back than when he left?
I would think so. I actually have part of an interview somebody recorded of him. And, he was basically the surfer dude from California. Mm-hmm. And I'll have to send it to you. And the first time that I actually went up there, I was up there with Kris Moon. And we were doing the Ghost Box. And I had heard this interview with him. And so I knew what he sounded like. Mm-hmm. And the voice came through and said something. And I'm like, oh my God, that's him.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know this, Kris Moon uses a Frank's box, one of the original boxes. And that's the only thing he'll use.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. And that voice came through and I immediately looked at Kris and went, that's him. I know his voice. That's him. And, but then there's also the spirit of a little boy that's up there. I think he's like 3 or 4. Of course, this building is over 250 years old. So there's a myriad of spirits in this place. And I've sat on the floor and rolled the ball back and forth with him. Mm-hmm. And there've been a couple of times where I don't know why I felt the need to say, because there's a cubby hole that the little boy hides in, and it's in what's now it was Zach and Addie's bedroom, but now it's called the doll room. Mm-hmm. And there's a cubby hole back there and he hides, and you'll have to, I automatically felt the need to go, Zach, back off, let him do what he wants to do. Let him come out, let him play. And there was a lady that was there the first time I was there, and she went and she said, I'm compelled to sit on this bench. And so she went and she sat down on it, and Mary just kind of grinned, and I'm like looking at her, and she's like, Zach built that bench. And it's still in the apartment. Mm-hmm. And there's also behind in the bathroom, the place where you put towels or linens or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's a painting. It's very, very dark, of a tree. And he drew that as well. And they left that. They left that there. So as carefree as he once was, I don't believe he came back from Iraq that same upbeat person.
Something that just hit me while you were talking about this little boy. Mm-hmm. Is it possible that this little boy is actually Zach where he wants to be accepted and wants to be that carefree child again? Could that be the reason that there's a little boy there that nobody seems to be able to probably identify?
I don't know. Mary seems to think he's from a different era. He's dressed differently.
Yeah.
She seems to think he is of another era, way beyond, Zach and Addie's time. Because Zach and Addie only lived in that apartment for 3 days before this happened.
Mm.
They were actually living in another apartment over on Governor Nichols. And she moved into this apartment trying to get away from him. And she begged the landlord, please don't put him on the lease. Please don't put him on the lease. I'm trying to get away from him. And he followed her anyway. So,
it's sad. Some of these could be avoided. But again, when you're in a situation to where somebody is going to hurt you,
yeah,
you just don't know if they.
What? You're breaking up. I'm sorry. Hello?
Denise,
Back? Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, you were breaking up for a minute. Go ahead.
So, back to what I was saying.
Mhm.
I don't even remember what I was saying. So, but we'll just let it go. But on your relationship with Mary, how did you get involved with her?
Actually, I was introduced to her by Kris Moon. And she and I just became really good friends. And then, especially after I helped her out with the first World's Largest Ghost Hunt, because we had that there at her museum. And it was funny because Maria kept calling me, telling me, she's like, she's got such a strong personality. I said, forgive my language. I said, are you trying to tell me that my friend's a bitch? Is that what you're trying to tell me? And she said, she's just got such a strong personality. And I'm like, yep, that's what she's trying to tell me. And I'm like, that's just Mary.
The thing is, you know what? You have to respect a person who is who they are, no matter what, no matter what's changed, they're always the same person.
Yes. And she tells it like it is. That's just Mary.
So she does tours all year long in New Orleans. So how would you find a Bloody Mary tour? I know it's easy. Just search Bloody Mary tours New Orleans and you'll find it.
BloodyMaryNewOrleans.com. It's Bloody Mary tours, or either Bloody Mary tours or BloodyMaryNewOrleans.com. I can't remember which one it is.
It doesn't really matter. If you just search it on Google, it's going to come up.
Yes, Bloody Mary tours. It's going to come up, and she does the nighttime, because one of the things that has happened is it happened in 2015. Most of the cemeteries in the New Orleans area were taken over by the Orleans Parish Catholic Archdiocese. So you can't even go into them unless you are with a paid tour.
Right. I knew that.
Yeah, we heard that.
Yeah. And so she has she's able to do the nighttime cemetery tours with hers. Not all of the tours can.
No. And you have to have a certification. I think that's what I read.
Well, to be able to do tours, period, here in New Orleans, it's basically like being able to license to drive a cab.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she's got all of that, and then some. And then, of course, on Sunday evenings, she does a Victorian seance in her seance room. It's in the museum. And then she has special events all during the year. We've done events up to, I think, at one point in time, we had over 100 people in the courtyard, and she put on a full, voodoo ceremony, and it was beautiful. It was really, really neat. And she brought in some other voodoo priestesses to work with her, and it was fascinating to watch. It really was.
Well, I know that if
So-
we ever get back down there, we're going to go. It's just
Absolutely.
the
Yes.
last time we were there with 4 children, and
Mm.
that would have been frowned upon to take a 6-year-old on a haunted tour.
You'd
But-
be surprised. You'd be surprised.
well,
At,
back then, it would have been frowned upon.
yeah,
but-
yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
how I knew about different places there. I had done some research on, where I could walk to from Homewood
Mhm.
Suites. Because we stayed at Homewood Suites there on oh shit, I don't even remember the name of the road. But we were walking everywhere. So
Mhm.
where could we walk with the kids? Because once you parked your car, it wasn't easy to get it back.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and I do have to say, Landry's had really good food.
Mhm.
We enjoyed that, and you have to go to Cafe Du Monde. We're back to food. You
Oh
have
yeah.
to go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I'm not a coffee drinker, but I do love beignets. I have to have
Yes.
beignets, and the box of stuff that you can buy to make your own doesn't cut it.
No.
I think you have to have the old grease.
I've tried it several times and it just does not. Now, if you come back, there is a place called New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood. It's down on St. Charles, down in the Garden District.
Mhm.
They now have chocolate beignets.
Okay, they got to be better than Popeyes.
Oh no, they're not stuffed with chocolate. They're made with the chocolate dough rather than the regular dough, and they're
Okay.
so. Oh my gosh, they're
That's
so
even better.
good.
That
Yes.
does seem better.
I'll tell you what. Before you come down here, just call me.
I will.
Just call me before you come down here, and I will arrange everything for you. And I'm going to take. That's one thing when people come down here, I take them to do the. I mean, if they want to do the touristy stuff, that's fine, but I will take them to do what the locals do.
That's what I want to do. Because when you were talking about locals, one of the things that I look for in a restaurant when we're out and about
Mhm.
is local license plates.
Yes.
If you don't see local license plates in the lot, it's probably not the best place to eat.
Yeah, and if you do, they usually just work there.
Yeah. So I found quite a few of those along my journeys off the beaten path, and that's the best thing, is off the beaten path. And we have more fun when we do that, and we learn so much, not only about ourselves but the local cultures.
Oh yeah, hole in the wall places are just. Yeah, I mean you find the best things there. So.
Yep. So where can everybody find Amy Green?
You can find me on my Facebook page. I'm beyondspooky@yahoo.com. Title is The Ice Queen. I also have a show that I do where I do event promotions called Lifestyles, the Hot, Fabulous, and Spooky. But it's not just paranormal events. It's music and I promote several different authors. Right now, I'm doing some publicist work for not officially, but because he's my friend, I'm doing it. I'm publicizing Reverend Bill Bean's newest book, Tales from an Exorcist.
Yes, another Baltimorean.
Yes, and love that man. I mean, the whole time that I've been through surgeries, he's texting me and everything, messaging me daily. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm praying for you. And he is such an awesome person. If you ever get the chance to meet him in person, you have to. And so those two things. I haven't done a live show in quite some time, of course, because I've been down and out, and but.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Amy. I appreciate it. And please, everybody, join us here next Monday night at 7 p.m. Central for my guest, Heidi Powell, psychic medium here out of Overland Park, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri. One of the two. They're right next to each other. So join us then. And thank you and have a great night.
The views expressed here are solely the opinions of the hosts and the guests, and not necessarily those of the network, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc. If you have an issue with the content of the show, please contact the show host. Thank you.